Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Mazel Tov, Leah Allen. I asked Bob for candy, but I'm surrounded by candy. So I want to give some away. If you would go back to Acharei Mot on page 679 in your Chumash, I have a question which I'll ask the rabbis and maybe the Torah readers or not to answer. But Leviticus 16 should be a trigger. It should remind you of something. And so take a look at Leviticus 16. If you're in the Chumash, it gives it away. That's okay, and I wanted to give you some candy if you get the right answer. So, again, surrounded by candy. And afterwards, I'll give you the candy. This Torah reading has special significance. Your Chumash tells you what it is. Anyone? And for me, it just triggered all sorts of things. Look in your Chumash. On the bottom of 679, it tells you, Halacha l'maaseh. So the rest of what I'm saying to you won't make sense if we don't start out with this. So, okay. Well, I guess I'll get the candy. Thank you very much. This is this Yom Kippur Torah reading. So, you got it? Well. Did anyone else say it? So, whomever said it, here. There we go. Good. Thank you. Yes. So, this week I had an experience which reminds me of one of those stories you hear about a scientist who mixes two chemicals together and has a discovery. And that happened to me this week as I was preparing to speak. So I want to share my discovery with you. As I mentioned, Acharei Mot is very important because it's all about Yom Kippur. This is a Torah reading for Yom Kippur, and what we read, when Noah read before, is the afternoon reading, so this is really important. So the text puts us in a mindset of Yom Kippur. And if you read through the text, it's all about atonement. I mean, after all, the Day of Atonement is Yom Kippur, so first, Aaron, the high priest, is going to ask for forgiveness for himself, and then who's next in the forgiveness chain? Family members, and then the Kohanim, and then the crescendo of this is what? All the people of Israel. And he represents everybody. And Leviticus 16:20, this wonderful ritual, I'm quoting now, when he was finished purging the shrine, the tent of meeting, and the altar, the live goat was brought forward. Remember what happens to the goat? This goat is sent off, Lech la'azazel, into the wilderness. Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over it all the iniquities and transgressions of the Israelites, whatever their sins, putting them on the head of the goat. And it shall be sent off to the wilderness through a designated person. So the high priest, acting on behalf of all the Israelites, had a goat, and symbolically, it's kind of like tashlich a little bit when we're throwing our sins away, put all the sins symbolically of the Israelite people and sent it away so that the people had a sense of what? We're cleansed, we're clean, we are atoned for this day. While we don't follow this ritual today, its power of actively seeking forgiveness is still quite meaningful and one that we can understand. Now we're going down the trail of Yom Kippur, okay? What is the most prominent prayer, different prayers? We would say the Al-Chet. What does that mean, by the way? More candy. I have plenty of candy here. Al-Chet is what? The various, go ahead. I can't hear you because, what'd she say? I'm sorry. Yeah, so some of this candy over here. Yes, for the sins we've committed. For the sins we've committed. So I just have a few for you to think about. We have sinned against you. By the way, what else are we doing when we say this prayer? This. We're literally sort of beating our hearts talking about the sins. We have sinned against you by the way we talk. We have sinned against you by public desecration of your name. We have sinned against you by speaking ill of others. Not anybody here has done that. And we have sinned against you by rushing to do evil. This is only a few of the Al-Chet prayer. If you remember, it goes on page after page in the Ashamnu, etc. As I was contemplating these prayers, They always leave me with a sense of unease and sadness as I recall the occasions when I have committed, it's hard to believe, but even rabbis commit sins, with a small s, over the past year. And that's how I feel when I'm reading through some of these prayers, like, oh my gosh, I must have done all these things. Now, that's what I was thinking about. Remember, this is a double portion, Achrei Mot Kedoshim. So I'm thinking about Yom Kippur, forgiveness and sins, and now I jump to Kedoshim. Kedoshim, which means holiness, is the following. The Torah says, Kedoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall be holy. Why? Because I, the Lord your God, am holy. And then, as Rabbi Dorsch pointed out, the Torah goes on to give us examples of what it means to be holy. I'll read a few. You shall not render an unfair decision. Do not favor the poor or show deference to the rich. Judge your kinsmen fairly. Do not deal basely with your countrymen. Do not profit by the blood of your neighbor. I am the Lord. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against your countrymen. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love your neighbors yourself. I am the Lord. You shall rise up before the aged. Kids, remember this. You shall rise up before the aged and show deference to the old. You shall fear your God. I am the Lord. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not wrong them. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens. You shall love them as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Okay, so now we get to the moment for me where I have the discovery. The scientist is mixing elements together. This is my discovery. So here's what's happening. I'm thinking about Yom Kippur and the Al-Chet, and I'm also reading about Kedoshim, and I mixed them together. It was after reading all the verses I read to you that a thought occurred to me that I'd never fully realized in this convergence of Achrei Mot and Kedoshim. Last Rosh Hashanah, which seems like ages ago, I was speaking from the corner, I believe. They now call that the Slamovitz corner, by the way. Charge admission to go there because of COVID. And do you remember what we spoke about? We're speaking about relationships among people, and I spoke about an emotional bank account. You remember? Anyone? You know what that means? Anyone know what an emotional bank account means? You all know what a bank account is. A bank account. Well, emotional bank account, yes, you do good, is when you do good things for people you like and love. You just do good things. You do positive things. And what are you doing? You're building up your emotional account. Why? So that when you have the occasion where you say something mean or you just do something not good, you're able to say, literally kind of say, okay, this is emotional bank account time. I need to take a withdrawal because I said something mean. One bad thing in light of 50 good things. Does all that make sense? That's the emotional bank account. So, here's what I came up with. In this case of Achrei Mot and Kedoshim, I think we need a new paradigm for the high holidays. It parallels the emotional bank account. I call it a spiritual bank account. Follow this, please, spiritual bank account. Here's how it works. Kedoshim is giving us a myriad of daily examples that relate to holiness. We are supposed to strive every day to do something wholesome, positive, and kind. So here's the way it would work. Like an emotional bank account that we are building up to have these wonderful deeds that push back against the negative deeds, we have a spiritual bank account of good deeds that we're doing all the time, every day, so that when we read on Yom Kippur, which is coming up mid-October, not that far away, mid-September, not that far away, the early this year, the high holidays. When we read on Yom Kippur, we have sinned against you by the way we talk. We balance that by remembering the time that we asked people how they were feeling and inquired about family members. When we read on Yom Kippur, we have sinned against you by public desecration of your name. By the way, that means cursing. We are able to recall the many times we said, thank you, God, for the blessings I have received. When we read on Yom Kippur, we have sinned against you by speaking ill of others. We recall the occasions when we said, let's not talk about that. I prefer to remain positive. When we read on Yom Kippur, "We have sinned against you by rushing to do evil," we happily remember the times that we stood up and were counted to do something positive. We donated to the Passover appeal at the shul to feed hungry children, or we volunteered to do something here or in the community, help a neighbor or relative, or have done an anonymous act of kindness. In effect, and this is the important part, each and every day gives us an opportunity to build into our spiritual bank account, so that when it comes a time to take a toll, by the way, high holidays, Cheshbon HaNefesh, we're really supposed to do an accounting of our souls. What are we able to say? Yes, I did bad. Yes, I said something wrong. Yes, I did bad things. But at the same time, what? I have a great bank account. My bank account is full of good deeds, happy words, positive thoughts. And I think in some way, all those good deeds help us make our way through the atonement we need on Yom Kippur. I think it's beyond that, actually. Here's a line. Tell me what you think of this. The holiness of our lives is our spiritual vaccination against sin. I use the vaccination. The holiness of our lives is spiritual vaccination. So all these good deeds. Imagine how bright and hopeful each day can be as we start the day by saying, what good can I do today? What's something positive I can do, something meaningful, which is adding to my quotient, adding to my deposit of holiness. So for me, what I realized is that Yom Kippur is important, Yom Kippur is significant, and I will feel bad again when I go through the sins, but I can do something about it. I can really change my reality. Even with the virus and all that, there's goodness we can do. When I was finishing, a tagline of Capital One came to me. Do you know the tagline? See it on TV all the time. What's in your wallet? What's her name? Jennifer Gardner, I think, and the other actor. They end by saying, what's in your wallet? So that's my challenge to all of us. What's in our wallet? What's in our purse? When it's time to make that accounting, and we have to look at our account that we haven't looked at in a while, what will it be filled with? And I hope on this morning of a bat mitzvah that we can say it is filled with positive deeds, loving deeds, deeds of kindness. And while we've done wrong because we're people, at the end of the day, we're going to be on the plus side. And our lives are going to be enriched before us. And more than that, the people that we meet are going to be reached by our smiles, by our attitude, but our belief that every day has meaning, every day has value, every day is special. I'll leave you with what's in your wallet. Shabbat Shalom.